Welcome to the Low and Slow podcast.
We're your girls, Crystal and Laken. If you press play today, trust, you made the right decision.
And know whenever you're listening to this, it's exactly the right time.
We invite you to pull up a seat to the conversation, get curious about your current perspective,
and lean in for the opportunity to see yourself in another woman's story.
We created That Girl Magic because we've been where you are.
Here, the talk is real and the breath is steady.
Let's get into your next mindset shift.
Welcome back to the Low and Slow podcast. It's your girls, Crystal and Laken, and today we starting with something different because we have a dilemma in. Some girlie needs help. She has hit us on the Hot Girl Hotline, and so we're just going to give her that space. So, Lake, let me read it to you.
Yes, hit me with the request a reframe submission.
Yeah. Do you have thoughts on, or have you ever supported a woman who has been told by her long-term male partner that he is craving and started actively seeking variety? She has that in quotes. And that he fantasizes a lot about spending time with and sleeping with other women. I know that this is his to own and that maybe we'd be best off separating. But how do I get over it? How do I let go of the feeling of not being enough? Oof. First off, girlfriend, I am so glad that thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that with us, sending it in, writing it down, right? And just being open to talking about that, right? Because I assume you're married or with this man, right? Mm-hmm. And there's something that's, she said long-term male partner, where you guys are monogamous together. And so now he's bringing something up into the relationship that sounds like it's not personally how you feel, right? And this is how he feels. And now it's like at the end, right? How do I get over it? How do I go and let go of the feeling of not being enough, right? So it goes into that conversation of like, when someone says something that's happening for them, maybe a truth that they have, like, what does that mean about me now, right? And It's like, that's the piece that we get to talk about, the girls get to talk about, because it's like, we don't need to take ownership over someone else's thing. We need to see within ourselves, like, is that what's working for you, right? How does that make you feel? And if that's not something that, if that's not something that sits right with you and that's not what's going to be what you need and things, like, here's where we can pattern interrupt and not bend or shapeshift or just stick around if that's, you know what I mean? That's not what's working for us. Can we communicate that?
Yeah, that's what stood out to me to write, verbatim. I know that this is his to own, but then within the next sentence, you're asking like, oh, well, how do I get over it? How do I let go of the feeling of, not being enough? So within that really short time frame, and this is how it happens, right? In real time, is like you handed him the responsibility, but then you take the workload back and decide that it's something wrong with you or something that you're doing. And it's not to criticize that, because we all do it. It's like, again, like you said, recognizing that pattern that is going to keep looping until we decide to interrupt it.
Right. And like, here's the thing is, this is why we created the request to reframe, because there's something that's within this woman that it's like, she wants someone to talk to about it, right? Maybe she doesn't have the girlfriend or like a close knit community where she could trust someone with this information, but this is stuff that's going on in her mind, right? This spiral, as we say, something happens and then, okay, it's not mine, but now I'm owning it. Now it's like, well, the crack was already there, that feeling of not being enough, but now something happened that is inflaming that, right? And it's like the second that we absorb what is his and make it like, what does this mean about me, right? Then it's like, oh my God, like here's where it's an opportunity of every woman can see a version of themselves in this woman's story, right? And her being open and vulnerable enough to share it with us, it's like, oh, okay, here's where in real time we have an example of where, like, let's slow this thing down and separate some of these pieces so that we're not just going in, what's the pattern? Like, we're not just taking that feeling that doesn't feel so good. Like if she was to name it, right? It's like, all right, the feeling of how do I go of not being enough, or how do I get over it, right? Like She's probably sad. She's probably hurt, right? She probably feels I'm not going to decide for her, but it's all of those feelings. And then it's like, so often then the story that then we then tell ourselves, the meaning that we've assigned to him deciding that for him, a truth for him, is I'm not enough.
Yeah, and like if we could just strip away, the attachments and the meanings for a second and not make it mean something about us. Like if we were looking at it as just pure data to have discernment around, it's like if you're asking how to stop feeling like you're not enough, but you're asking that while you're currently actively in an ongoing situation where someone is basically showing you out loud that fear is coming to fruition, right? That essentially you are not enough for what you're looking for in the relationship as far as the monogamy, right? And at the end of the day, it's he's not enough for what you want in that situation. Correct. But we want to internalize the blame.
Right. And instead of like, right, here's where like off of the feeling, right, why I brought that up is like so often the feeling that we feel is what happens first, and then comes the meaning and the story we tell ourselves. But if we back up all of that, it's like, well, wait a second, this isn't mine here. Can I ask myself a really good question right now? Is this man that I want to be with, right, is he delivering on what I want in a partner?
Right.
Right. And like by saying that, right, it's like if monogamy is not what he is looking for, right? And I think this is where a lot of times when someone it's a long-term partner, right? If anything was to ever change in the dynamic, the fact that you can have an open conversation about it, that's great, right? But if that's not working for you, I think people will try to make things work for them to avoid losing it.
Yeah, it's like we have to be clear on the non-negotiables before going into that conversation. To understand, like, okay, well, where's the line? Where's the boundary for me? Right?
Right. And so, like,
your body is doing exactly what it's supposed to do. It's telling you that this is not okay for you. It's telling you that it's making you feel a certain way about yourself.
And it's like if the answers to those questions, it's like, wait, like, here's where I can do the shape shifting and the bending and try to reform myself, right? Which is not what we want to be doing, but we can catch it in real time of like, oh no, that just doesn't work for me. And if that's your truth, okay. But like you even said it of like, maybe we'd be best off separating. Have you asked yourself what that would look like? Right? Like if that doesn't work for you and you are best off in your mind separating, the maybe that's there, that means there's something from your body telling you that, hey, that doesn't work for me, right? Yeah. It's just that's what I'm saying. Like underneath is like, oh, the fear of, oh, that will mean I will lose this person, right? That will mean things will change, right? That's what feels the
unfamiliar.
And it's like, this is, I think, a really good example of like where women find themselves losing themselves in relationship. And that doesn't mean it has to be that way, but that's like the programming that's there. It's like, oh, like I need to keep my man satisfied, right? Or I need to, I'm going to put in the effort in the relationship. But it's like, is this effort in the relationship or is this effort in self to articulate what you need? Because this man is articulating what he needs. He's saying, I want more variety, right? He's saying, I fantasize this, right? And if he's being open with you about it, here's where it's like, okay, is that okay with me? There's people who have open relationships and they have really clear open boundaries, right? And it's not to make that's not to make any arrangement in any relationship wrong. It's just what is the agreement in those relationships? Both people are on board, and that's why they work.
What works for you? Yeah,
correct. So it's like the advice I'd give you is like, does that work for you? Can you just get really honest and clear about that with yourself first? And then if that's what's been brought to the table on his end, I think it's like, this is where it doesn't have to be this, huge falling out. It can be a thing where it's like, oh wait, we both are just being really honest. And now we get to make moves off of that rather than doing maybe what we think the other person wants, and then we wind up resenting them for it.
It's also like a really broad generalization. We do this a lot where it's like if we're feeling like we're not being chosen, then that question comes up of, am I enough, right? And it's like, we can't say like, okay, am I just enough? That leaves us feeling like we're lacking in all areas, right? The distinction is, am I enough for a man that has decided that he wants something else? And if that's the case, that's very specific. That has an answer, right? That is something that I can use to calibrate what works for me and give myself the option. And it also allows him to choose me for who I really am. Because if I were to abandon when that doesn't feel good for me and say, yeah, I can make that work or whatever it is, I'm going to find myself later on down the road still being in the same loop of not feeling like enough because he's not actually choosing me for my authentic self and who I really am. Versus if I put a boundary in place and say, actually, no, that doesn't work for me. I do care about you and I do want to be with you, but that situation does not work for me. This is what I'm looking for and what my non-negotiables are. Then that gives him the option to choose me for who I really am.
Yes. Right. And here's the thing too of like the choice. I think the idea of being chosen, and I really love that we started with the dilemma today because it allows people hearing this and women, it gives them permission of like, okay, what happens? We want to be chosen so often by someone else, but if we can come back to ourselves, are you okay with choosing yourself in that? Which means setting the boundary, which means saying, I'm going to choose me and what I want, right? And what I want is just as important as what the other person wants, right? Because that's what he wants. I think if anything, as women, we can learn from men in this way that men are always choosing what they want. And I don't use always of like all the time, but like more often than not, it's easier for a man to choose himself than choose someone else. And I think with women, they are naturally ones to choose others before themselves. And so it's like, here's the opportunity of like, okay, here's the pattern. Here's what I can do different. And what would it feel like to choose me in this moment? Because that's, if I could just go off that feeling wise, well, that may mean articulating the boundary. That may mean having more conversations. That may mean, the piece that comes at the end of like, how do I let go of the feeling of not being enough? That's where we honestly have to take a look in the mirror too and say, well, wait, when's the first time that I felt like I was not enough? It wasn't just with this man in this conversation. And it's like, I think that's the piece where most women find themselves like getting stuck because it just feels like, oh, okay, like this is, once they start to see that this has been there for a while.
Now this is more evidence to reaffirm that wound. Yeah.
Right. And it's like, and I get that and I feel for her in that. Right. And it's also like, sis, you've been training for this. Now's the time where we get to like, I know it feels kind of if your man said this to you, let's just be honest, that would feel shitty, right?
Yeah.
Like, but it's also like, okay, do I want to feel like that in that dynamic? And how do I want to feel? And how can I feel different with being honest with myself and giving myself what I need?
Yeah. And when was the last time you did feel like enough and what was happening in that situation? Can you lean more into that? When was the last time you made yourself feel like enough?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or even in the dynamic, she said a long-term partner. So I don't know if you're married or this is or boyfriend or you guys are just like committed relationship, right? But like, can you think of the time without this man where you did feel like enough?
Right.
Right? Because you have reference points of when you did. There was always, in any relationship, that's why like when you're getting to know someone, it's like, oh, like they're choosing you for exactly, okay, we have connection, this, and then it builds. But then when you're so intertwined, it's like, oh yeah, when is the last time I felt like this with him? Oh my God, it hasn't been years. Oh my God, it was when we first started dating. Oh my God, this and that. Like, it's like we don't think about these things because we're so zoomed in on, I've invested time into this person.
Yeah. And we're not telling you what to do with your relationship. At the end of the day, there's a lot more context and nuance that's going to be outside of this one, paragraph. So it's like, take it with a grain of salt. And at the end of the day, the biggest message is just to root into what is your intuition telling you, what actually feels right for you, and can you make a decision from that place as opposed to the pressure of the familiarity that's present.
Yeah, take what lands, leave what doesn't, babe, and know that, like, that what your intuition is telling you. Can you hold enough space for her? Can we not shame the parts of ourselves that want to put a boundary in the place? Can we not shame the parts of ourselves that say, this is a no for me, right? Like, let that all come forward so that you can have discernment around what do I want to do next with this and not what this other person is wanting me to do next with this. Like, what do you want to do? Like, take out what, because this is what he's wanting. And if that's his to own, let him own that, and you decide what you're owning in this. Such a good one. Thank you for whoever sent that in. I'm really happy that you sent it over and trusted us with that information. Let's get into the episode today, Lake.
Yes. So today we are going to be talking about basically the idealized version of ourselves that we tell ourselves we'll love when we get there, right? It's like this ongoing journey of when I achieve this thing or when I get to this version of myself, like then it'll be enough. Then I'll be able to have the self-love. Then I'll appreciate myself, right? It's like this this contract that we don't remember signing of I will fully accept myself when I'm the version that deserves it. So what reminded me of this is like I had a session a few months ago that has kind of stuck with me a little bit. And a client had been cleaning out her phone and she found like in her notes, like a note that she had written to herself 4 years ago. And it was a list of who she was going to be. It's like once her career was stable, once she'd worked through this issue with her family, once she was in better shape, right? And it's like all these things, once they were achieved, at the bottom she'd written, then I'll finally relax. And she was laughing when she read it because she was like, yeah, right. You know, like, yeah, right. And it's like, and because she said like, you know, I have all of that, every single thing on that list. Like I have a version of that now. And she definitely did not feel more relaxed, like not 1 ounce more relaxed than she did then. Right. And it's because at some point she just started writing a new list and it's like the finish line just keeps moving and moving. And we do this all the time.
Yeah. Dude, that's going to land for someone hearing that of like, everyone has this list, right? Once I achieve this, once I do this, then I'll relax. It's like, oh my God. I feel like I think also too, like even just that statement, it's like we go off of the feeling we're wanting to achieve in that moment. Mm-hmm. A lot of times another version of that, it's like, I want to feel peace, right? I want to feel like regulated. But I think like most of us have that mental note somewhere, maybe not always written down, but like we have it, like the list of who will be like once.
Yeah.
Right. When I take the action, when I do this. And like the hardest part about that is that, isn't that we don't actually get there. It's that if we do get there, then what? Right. And getting there doesn't actually change anything. It just actually has us feel the feeling that we've always been wanting to feel in the process of that.
Yeah. And it's like, it's not to harp on, you know, be grateful for where you are. Yes, do that. And like, this is more about the specific arrangement that you've made with yourself when you get to be loved later. Like when I tell myself that I'm going to love myself and why later never actually ends up showing up. Right. So what that client found on her phone essentially was a contract that she had made with herself. Like somewhere along the lines, she signed something and agreed that said like, okay, I will fully accept myself once I am the version that has achieved all these things. And that means I've earned it or that I deserve it. And every time you get close, then the terms get renegotiated because then we tell ourselves, oh, well, now this thing happens. So now I have to wait until here. Right. And it's not being negotiated by anybody else but you. Today, I want to talk about the fact that like, you already know that self-acceptance matters. Like we're clear on that. And, you know, you've probably told a friend that she's enough and meant it completely. We do this, but can we know that there's something running underneath of that hasn't been touched that we're not addressing? And because this conversation usually gets flattened into, oh, well, I just need to stop wanting things. Like that's not the thing. I need to just be
grateful for what it is. Gosh, that's really
like,
sad.
You're allowed to want more and be ambitious, and nobody's asking you to just be satisfied or just settle for what is available to you at this current moment. It's like the question is whether you're using the wanting as evidence that the current version of you doesn't count yet or doesn't deserve what's coming to you yet. Because those are two completely different situations, right? And one of them is going to be costing you, and it's just going to keep pushing that finish line over and over and over again where you're never going to feel like you arrive.
Yeah. Just because I know, like, with our listeners listening, we got to run that back. Say that part again. It's not whether, what did you say?
It's not, it's like, the question is
Because this is what you want to write down, girlies.
Yeah,
as
the
you're
question is
listening.
not.
I know people are like, this is the one I want to write down.
It's like you're wanting to use the evidence of the current version of you to justify not deserving the things that you want. But at the end of the day, that's costing you the being able to actually feel and be in the things that you want and deserve, because you're never feeling you're truly deserving of it.
Yeah, like the current version of you counts, because the current version of you is the thing that's getting you there. And when we dismiss that version of us, right, it's like then we get to the end of achieving the thing and we're like, why don't I feel any different, right? I haven't even celebrated all the cool shit that I've done to even get here. And it's like, can we go one layer underneath this? Because this is like where that contract gets installed, right? And here's the thing. Nobody actually signs the shit. We just adopt this when we're in adulthood, or we're responsible now, right? And we get to, we're making all these changes. And I think so many adults are out here not fucking being able to celebrate themselves for the cool stuff that they've done because of that space of like, I'll love myself when I achieve the thing. I'll celebrate myself when this happens. And for a lot of us, love honestly came with a delivery condition. And, it's not actually necessary. Nobody sat you down and said, hey, you'll be loved when you achieve. That was something we learned, right? That was something like, was it going to get praised? Was it important, right? Was it going to be the thing that took me out of the situation that I was in? And so like you noticed the room you were in got warmer when you did well, right? You noticed that I got attention when you were easy, or when you were impressive, or when you were ahead, right? Like so often this is always said of like, you're just so mature for your age, or like you're such a driven person, right? And it's like you noticed that when you struggled, people got uncomfortable, and then like their discomfort became yours to manage. So like this version of you, like this very smart little girl who put together this contract that said being enough is like the moving target. And so I just need to keep moving to keep hitting it, which is so interesting that, the dilemma that got sent in today, talk about being enough, that that was random. I don't know how, look, that ties in with this, but like that was a contract old girl made a long time ago. And then where did that show up later on in relationship? And so your body learned into doing that too, because the body has been collecting all the data, right? The body has been storing it. It's been throwing chips in the bucket, right? And that's the part that I want you to hear underneath this layer, is because it isn't only this belief living in your head. It's in your chest, right? It's the breath trapped in your chest. It's the reason that rest feels, like you can't do it, it's illegal, you're not allowed, or that you should feel guilty for it. It's the reason that you have a whole free Saturday, having so much free time, like a free Saturday makes you really anxious rather than actually relieved, because you can't actually allow yourself to have that time. And your body's listening through all of that. What it's learning through that contract is that staying stagnant or stillness or not doing anything, that's a risk, that it's dangerous, right? Because if there's stillness, there's nothing between you and the question of whether you're okay if just as you are, just to be. And I think so many women have their own version of this, whether it comes through a career, whether it comes through motherhood, or where they start to realize this. So it's you keep reaching, not because you're greedy, but because it's reaching the safest place it knows. In wanting more, that safety strategy is actually a really smart one. And it's been running so long that it doesn't feel like a strategy. And it just feels like a person having goals, right? Or being determined to get somewhere.
Yeah. But what you're describing it's a story, right? It's a story that you tell yourself about yourself. And the story is okay,
the meaning.
yeah, I'm currently a rough draft, and then
Mm-hmm.
the final version comes later. But
Mm-hmm.
that ends up being a trap because that story doesn't feel like a story. It feels like, something that we all strive towards. Like, it feels like ambition and just having standards. And it's honestly like the reason why you tell yourself that you've accomplished anything at all. And that's exactly why it survives every round of personal development that you throw at it, and every iteration it keeps coming up, because you keep upgrading these goals and you don't audit the contract underneath of them.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you're operating from I'll be okay when every piece of growth has a second job or is achieving all of these things, it's like, it's not just the thing. It's like, again, it's self-fulfilling proof that comes up. And when a thing has to be proof, it can never be enough. Like, if I always have to provide evidence to show that I'm doing the thing, because proof of worth has no ceiling, right? Like, there's no amount that would ever be enough. So you hit the goal and you feel good about it for like a day and a half, and then you just move the number. You just dial it up. And we watch ourselves do this. We do it repeatedly. I do it all the time. Like, I struggle to celebrate things. So I'm like, oh, well, I just, of course, then the next thing. Right. And you probably concluded at some point that it just means something's wrong with you. But it's just a system. It's like you built a system that can't produce the outcome that you're asking it for. And chasing the next version of yourself is one of the most sophisticated forms of self-abandonment at the end of the day, right? Because it doesn't actually look like self-abandonment. It looks like discipline or growth, and that's like really socially rewarded and reaffirmed. But underneath that, you're doing the same thing that you do to a person that you don't respect, right? Like, you're withholding. Mm-hmm. And growth that is built on that self-rejection is slow.
Yeah, because it's like, here's the bar that I'm setting, the goals, the things that I'm setting for myself. And it's like, I'm having, like, that's, call it nervous system, call it your body, call it whatever we want to call it. It's like that internal programming it's like the version of us that wants to be at the thing. And then the version of us that we actually are, we haven't even upgraded it to be at the same place. Right.
Yeah.
And I think it's like, it feels safer for it to be ahead, right? Because then you're working towards something. But if this shit's staying down here and you're wanting to be up here, and you've never bridged the gap by celebrating or, just allowing yourself to, like, be seen in all the things that you're doing. Like, I don't know another way to say it other than like celebrate, like, to give yourself credit. Just credit, acknowledgement. Yeah.
And it's like, if not, then you just end up carrying like all the extra weight of the expectations along the way. So it's like, you're doing the thing, and then you're also managing this constant background noise that you shouldn't have needed to do that thing in the first place to like justify it, to justify what, like, the goal that you're trying to achieve. And that thing already happened. So the verdict about the second one that you're going towards, like, you're the one that's firing it. And you just keep rinse and repeat, and then that's when you stay stuck.
Yeah, and I think this is too, right? Like, in this example we're giving it, this is why when other people are saying these things, it's like, it's almost like a boomerang, like it bounces right off, because the acknowledgement that's actually needed, the celebrating, whatever you want to call it, is the thing that you need to do for you. Mm-hmm. And so other people doing it, it's like, oh, okay, you can hear that, but it doesn't resonate the same because you haven't told you. And it's like, when you haven't told you, but then you're the one that keeps firing the shots, it's like, what?
Yeah.
What's happening? So I think I think about like how many of us have heard something like that and they've immediately gone, right, like, I'm the problem. Like, now I have to fix the thing, right? Like, and now I have to fix the fixing, right? And so if you're listening, like, let's take a beat for a second, like, because what we actually want you, like, to hear, this is like what this actually feels like from the inside, and I want to name it in a way that feels true, right? This is not misery, right? This is not that, like, I think that's why it's so hard to catch sometimes, because it's not so prevalent. Like, this is something that's low. This is like, like something in the background, right? It's like a constant, like buzz or hum of like not yet. It's something finished. It's finishing something genuinely good and feeling almost nothing about it, right? Like it's a compliment landing on the outside of you and just sliding right off, like we said, like that boomerang. It's like almost sometimes people didn't even say anything to you. It's about being that, like a dinner with people you love, and you're about like 40% present there, because some part of you is actually like 3 months out from that, or you're thinking about all the shit you got to do afterwards, right?
Yeah,
like
you're
it's
like
you're
on your to-do list.
Yeah, like you're disassociating from the present moment. And so like a lot of these things, it's not like this big thing in the forefront. It's a whole bunch of these small little moments that add up. And there's a specific like grief that's underneath that I don't think that we talk about, which is why you've been alive this whole time, but like not really feeling alive inside, right? Like you haven't embodied that feeling of aliveness because you're just still in the draft. And the draft is been the things that have been happening in your day-to-day life that you've discredited.
Yeah.
Which
like
keep you then
arrived.
as a draft. Right. Right. And, you know, I think if we were to even think of like through the draft, like, you know, when a writer writes a book, there's millions of drafts that go into it, right? But it's like when they see the end, they know they're going to get to the end product of like the final book, but there's so many things that happen in between, and all of those are important. But I think if we stay in the draft, then we can't, if we don't address each draft that's on the way, we can't exactly be proud of like the finished product. And I think like here's that piece that's like conditioning, is that like if love was conditional early on, then accepting yourself now is going to feel like quitting. It's going to feel like you're letting go of the only thing that ever got you to be loved in the first place. Right. And of course, like your body's going to brace for that, and it's going to think that you're about to become like unlovable on purpose. But that's not what's actually happening here, right? I think it's just because it's like that's so different than what you knew that at first. And this is where it comes back to like not just like self-love and like love yourself more, but like understanding that like these conditions or that contract that you made with yourself, that I don't want to even say it's like out of survival. It's just it's conditioning. And when we start to unlearn all of that, like, can we address probably those stories you've told yourself along the way? Like you're not weak in that. It's just how you were wired. And so now that you're aware of that, when you're feeling like you try to just try to be okay with yourself, like, and something in you is panicking, or you're not sure about it, maybe having self-doubt, like it's not resisting to healing or fixing that part of you. That's just a very old part of you saying, well, if we stop doing this behavior, we stop earning it, then we're going to lose it, right? And I think that's then the piece where it's like, oh, I get to be really honest with myself. If I can still continue staying in this pattern, doing this, I honestly have had to do this a lot, and I don't want to say all the time, but there was at one point where it was so in the forefront of my brain. Like if you continue with the pattern of like self-doubting yourself, then you're going to remove what actually is happening, where you're building trust. Mm-hmm. And, you know, accepting yourself now, like, even though you may not have the evidence that you want for it, is a version of, for me, as I say this, is a version of love, because I'm learning to love the part I was grieving for so long by staying in the pattern.
Yeah. Yeah. So then it's like, what do we actually do about it? Right. And that's where like we start to look at practices. So can we start with separating the two questions that are usually coming up? Because usually it's a matter of asking myself, okay, do I want to grow? And then there's another question of, am I okay as I am? And we're treating those as if they're the same question, or if like they're in contest with each other, and they're not. Like as long as they're fused, then every ambition that I seek or that I want to achieve is like a referendum of my own worth, right? And that's not the case. So can we make them separate, but still in the same sentence of like, I'm okay as I am and I still want this, right? It's like acceptance and the desire for growth. Both of those can exist simultaneously. And if that makes you feel uncomfortable, good, because that's where that contract is showing up underneath, right? That's what we're after. So once we're able to separate those two questions, then can we catch the second hit that comes up when we ask ourselves that, right? Like the first hit is the actual event, which is usually like a setback or a mistake, or the day that we, just gave in and felt like we didn't achieve anything. And that happens, right? Like everybody experiences that. But the second hit is when we shit on ourselves for that. Like when we tell ourselves like, oh, I know better, or we compare and say like, everyone else is able to do this. Why can't I? Or I should be further along by now, right? That part is not optional. That part is optional. The first part is not optional. The mistake is going to happen. The second hit, that is optional. We get to decide how we respond to that. And that part is doing 80% of the damage. So it's like, in the moment, can we identify that and then catch it, right? So take just the 30 seconds, like name what's actually happening, not the story about it. For example, like I missed this deadline, right? Or I ate this thing that I wasn't supposed to eat that didn't align with my goals, or, oh, this argument triggered me again. And I basically like showed my ass, right? It's like, let it be here without immediately fixing it. Like I don't have to always strategize or optimize everything. Like just take a pause. We talk about this all the time, right? Just take the pause and find where it hits you in your body. Is it like a throat closing feeling? Is it like a tightening of the gut? Is it a clenched jaw? Like, don't try to rationalize it with the why quite yet. Just identify how it's feeling in your body. And this is the part that people want to skip all the time because they think that it's like, oh, what's the point of it? But this is where it actually works, because we're actually finding like, okay, what is this attached to? And you can't think your way out of it. It's not something that's just happening in your head. So then say the thing that you'd say to a friend, right? Like whoever that person is, somebody that you care about, your sister, your daughter, whoever it is, like the woman that you would never speak the way that you speak to yourself about, like do that instead of that shitting on yourself. Like, can I just reframe that? Can I offer some grace in that moment? And that's it. Like just name it, let it happen, locate it, and then just speak to it. And that whole thing can take 30 seconds and you can literally do it. If you need to excuse yourself and go to another room or in the bathroom or just go to the side or go to your car. Yeah, like name it, the fact, not the story of what happened. Give it 3 seconds without fixing or strategizing or optimizing. Locate it in the body and then speak to it with grace. That's it.
Yeah. I think even just that practice, I know a lot of women that listen to our podcast, it's like they need something practical and they need something that has like, it's not too complicated. It's not this whole like Kundalini thing. I mean, I love Kundalini, but it's something that they can just do in real time. And once you start to get in the habit of that then starts to become like your new default to do, right? But you have to give it a new default, because the default you have now is the shit talking. The default you have now is like that I'm shitting on myself for even doing the thing in the first place. It's still rooted in shame and guilt and all of that. So it's like, this is something that's neutral and that actually allows you to locate it. Cause it's like, we even say like writing, like if you're doing this at all, this like practical application at all in your day, maybe in the evening, then this is something that you write about, like, oh, this happened today, right? Like, there's a reason when we were younger, we said like a diary, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, what's in your diary? Because it's like there was something that happened in your day that you had something to say about. And like a diary, I love this about my writing practice. It's like I'm writing to the version of myself earlier that maybe did feel triggered, or that maybe did, get upset at something or do something that wasn't aligned with her goals or whatever. It's like I'm taking the time to meet her because maybe in my day there wasn't space for her, but I'm still giving her some time to be able to speak or feel or process, right? And it's like we don't realize, but when we don't do this enough, all of those past versions of ourselves, they're all waiting to be acknowledged, right? They're all waiting to be spoken to in a different way. And, when it comes to like starting to change the narrative of how you speak to yourself. This is why it's not like, oh, tell yourself some affirmations for 2 weeks. Like, no, like this has to be a practice that you start to engage with yourself in all the different versions of yourself.
Yeah. And once you can start to come from that more accepting place, then try running growth from that side, right? It's like, take the thing that you're currently working towards and do the same action, but not from a place of in an effort to become someone who's finally going to be okay with it, right? Like, do it because you already are. And this is just something that you're building for yourself, right? So it's like, it's the same behavior, but it's a different fuel source essentially that we're pulling from. So if you can do this, then it will start to feel different, because one of them costs a lot more to run than the other one does, because we're fueling with current self-acceptance and something that we want for the current version of ourselves, as opposed to telling ourselves we won't deserve it until we get there, right?
Yeah. All right. I want to say there was something you said earlier that I think will actually make this land for anyone, where they're like, I'm listening to you, but, right, like, loving yourself now doesn't slow the growth down. Right? It just is going to make that growth feel a lot different, right? And if growth has felt one way for so long, I think I feel like a broken record, and I always say this, is like, what we've been doing, if that hasn't been working, can we try something different? And that difference of, like, if you can feel different while you're doing that, wouldn't that be enough, right? Like, that difference is not something that's small. That difference is actually the quality of your life. And this is where it comes to like feeling embodied in what you're doing. Why? Because you're feeling different in that. I want to feel alive. I want to feel excited. I want to feel, proud. I want to feel like, more expressed in what I'm doing. It's like, well, that's because you're upgrading that contract underneath, so that you could actually acknowledge yourself as you're doing the things. And you're going to be doing the work either way, right? You're that kind of woman. The person listening to this you're that kind of woman. You're going to be doing the things, right? You're going to be building the things. You're going to be healing the things. You're going to be showing up for other people. And the only variable that is what we want to talk about is whether or not you spend those years in a body that's braced in everything that you're doing, or in a body that's held, in a body that's supported, in a body that's heard and acknowledged and, met, right? And I think when women start to do this, this has been such a journey for me to be able to do that for myself. I love that could be done in relationship or in partnership and other things, but like doing that with yourself, that's the one that really takes you, right? Because it's like, you're not expecting that external of you. That's something internally. And so those same years are going to happen. The same effort's going to happen, but it's going to be a wildly different ride, because you've started to give that effort and time to yourself.
The time's going to pass either way. So.
Right. So let me speak to the part of you that thinks acceptance in this means settling, right? Like, she's not like dumb or, for wanting that, right? Or for thinking in that way, right? She's actually, and I say dumb because I know like so many women tell me, I just feel so stupid, right? As I'm doing this, I've even said that, like, I feel dumb for not doing, it this way or whatever. It's like, she's actually protective. She's actually been watching, she's watched what happened when you stopped performing, and she doesn't want to go back there. So like, she deserves that tenderness too. Right? She doesn't deserve the eviction letter on the old version of herself. Like, no, she deserves some fucking support, and she deserves, we've talked about this personally in our friendship of like, the feeling of when you stop performing, or you're growing into a different version of yourself that you're learning how to trust. It's like, you're feeling challenged, right? If you're feeling challenged, then it's like, can I get some support here rather than just the pressure? Can I have support before the pressure? Would that make the pressure feel a little bit different, right? And can it always be in that order where like you are supporting you and not just putting the pressure on you and looking for support from somewhere else?
Yeah.
Because you don't you don't grow out of that self-rejection. You only inflate it more if that doesn't happen. But what you can grow out of is that you can grow out of the feeling of feeling safe enough to try things that might not work. And that's it, right? Like that's the actual mechanism. Like, okay, I can establish all this safety within myself, but am I actually trying new things that actually can work for me, not just the old programming? And so like self-acceptance isn't really the reward that you get at the end of growth. That's more of a feeling, right? It's the ground. It's the foundation that you've built on. It's being able to do anything with it instead of it costing you everything by not doing it.
Yeah. And like, when I think about that client that shared that note with me, all right, it's like, I tell her like the woman who wrote that 4 years ago isn't something that you're like working towards, like that you'll eventually get there. It's like, you're already her, like you're there.
Yeah,
right? It's
dude,
like you were her the whole time. You've been her the whole time. It's like you just had a rule that wouldn't let you see it or wouldn't let you know it. And at the end of the day, it's like there's no version of you that arrives and finally gets to be loved. That woman doesn't exist. And not to say like it's not because you're not ever going to get there, right? It's because when you do, like she'll just have a new list. She'll just have a new benchmark to shoot towards, right? So it's like the choice isn't between accepting yourself and growing. It's between growing while you love yourself and growing while you don't. And it's the same road. Again, same time is going to pass. We just have to choose how we're going to spend that time or how we're going to be taking care of ourselves on that journey. So it's like, when you think about that, start to catch the moment where you're postponing yourself, like the moment where you think, okay, like after this, I'll feel okay. Like catch it and allow yourself to say like, I'm okay now and I can still want this thing for myself. Like stop moving the goalpost, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, because really, is there one, or have you been establishing one each time? Like, and if this week, right, after listening to this episode, if all that you manage right now is just noticing, right, not like noticing that what's happening in the background, right, like that slow hum, like for the first time, that counts, even if you could just catch it. Right? Like that's real. You've identified it. And so you can't put something down that you can't feel yourself actually holding. Right? So if you can just like acknowledge that it's there right now, great. Do that first. Right? And I love that story so much. Like I love being able to just actually say in the moment, oh, I caught it. And like, okay, right? Because I'm building awareness in that. And, you know, sometimes it's like giving yourself the permission to catch the thing and apply this in your own life rather than just trying to fix it right away, right? Like we're not something that needs to be fixed. If anything, we're something that needs to be understood or something that needs to be like given effort and attention and like curiosity with, right? Acknowledgement. That's why like women want to speak with other women because they want to be heard and understood. And like, I think when we start to do that for ourselves, it becomes less of something we have to fix and actually something that we can hold and start to work on. The woman that's on her phone like 4 years ago that you said with like your client, like she isn't waiting to become someone worth loving. She already was. She just had this rule that wouldn't let her know it. Right. And someone listening to this right now probably has the same rule. It's like you've done so much work. You've let, like, can you let some of that be for the woman who's here right now and not the one that you're mailing or forwarding it to, right? Like allow all the work that you've done to even settle in. And that's like where, when we talk about like embodiment, like, can you embody actually all the stuff that you've done and allow like this to start like, this to start affecting this up here, because she deserves to be taken care of in the process. And yeah, you're not a draft. You're actually the whole damn thing that's already done, and it gets to keep evolving as you're doing it. So we appreciate you guys listening in and sending in the dilemma as always. If this was helpful to you, if you can like, share, subscribe, comment. YouTube is growing, y'all, and we so appreciate it. Those 5 stars really mean all the things to us, just because it's like we want to know that what you're hearing is hitting you in some way, and that it's touching you in some way, and that you're sharing it with someone else who really needs that message. And we also love like creating this space for you guys where like the woman who wrote in today, like that's strength, that's vulnerability, that's adding to the thing at the table and allowing other women to support you in that way just by hearing your truth, something you're working on.
Yeah, so send in your own request to reframe. We'd love to hear it. We'd love to be able to share space for it on the pod, and hit us with those 5 stars. And we'll see you next time.
Yes. Yeah, see you next time.